I was muted.
I have it set so on arrival people mute so they won't be disruptive.
Okay, that's good. That's smart. Hi, Doug. He's muted too. You got to unmute him. They muted us.
There we go.
I did the same thing.
Okay, good. Actually, let me close the blinds behind.
Somebody's early.
No, I think that's his assistant.
Oh, okay.
It's better.
Doug, how do you say your last name? I want to make sure I say it properly.
Prothero.
Prothero. I am saying it properly. That's good.
There we go.
Hi. I'm Jerry Randlett, by the way. I'm sorry I couldn't join the other day. Were you on the practice or was it just Larry?
Just Larry.
Just Larry. Okay. So Travis is our events guy. He's our techie. So if we have any issues, Travis is our man. And I run the alumni office at Babson. So I've been a friend of Larry's for a long time, given that he's an alum.
Nice to meet you both.
Did he tell you about
everyone?
Hi.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, it's Sarah Dutton. Sorry. Hi, sorry, I was connecting to the audio. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you too. So I don't know how much Larry told you about sort of the population that's going to be on our call today, but they tend to be our higher end donors. So we're doing this for our President's Society members. So they tend to be our most generous benefactors. Many of them own their own businesses. They're founders, owners, CEOs. Some of the younger ones are not on that track yet, but a lot of them are family business people. So while they might not be the chairman at the moment of their family business, they are, in a family business where someday they probably will take the helm.
Okay. My wife works in the family business advising business. So she,
really?
Yeah, she knows the college well, and helps advise families on transition from one generation to the next.
Yeah. So we
control of the business.
We should probably get her involved with our IFE. we started something a few years ago called the Institute for Family Enterprising. And it's led by two people, Laura Union and what's the professor's name, Travis? William Gartner. Is that his name? I think it's Will Gartner.
Yep. And
we do several different programs. When they first started the program, like the first year and a half, it really was inwardly facing just for students. And so we have this program called the Amplifier program, and it's a cohort of students, and their parents have to agree to be part of it also. And so the parents actually have to be part of the class. And so they talk about those really difficult things about sort of family dynamic within a business. How do you make the decision of who in the next generation controls the business? There's so many really interesting things that they do. And then they become this cohort where it's sort of like, you can share your secrets because it's safe kind of thing. Yeah. So they were doing that just internally for students, and now they're starting to build one for our alumni. But they're always looking for, partners and speakers and things like that. So
well, she's
have your wife get involved.
Exactly, up her field. Her name's Jennifer East, and she's I know she just was speaking the other day at FFI, Family Firm Institute, so that's the field she's in.
That's awesome. Right. Travis, can you send Larry the link again?
Yep. And Doug, just a couple little camera things. I would recommend in the top right, just setting your camera to the active speaker view, because we'll ask all attendees to mute and turn their cameras off. So if you're set to the active speaker view, you'll just see you and Larry, whoever's talking.
Okay, so that
in the top right, there's the little boxes up in the top right. If you hover over.
Okay.
They're like, one will say grid view, one will say thumbnail, and then one will say active speaker video view.
I'm on an Apple, and so that's not giving me that.
It should be in the WebEx window. You shouldn't have to go outside of that.
Yeah, I'm in WebEx. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so go to active speaker. Got it. Okay, yeah, right. Okay.
Awesome. And then the one other setting that I would do is up on like the toolbar menu up in the top left, where it says like file and share. If you click view, and then the second one from the bottom is hide non-video participants. That'll just make sure the only people you see are people with their cameras on, which should just be you and Larry. So.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Awesome. No problem. I just forwarded to Larry, so hopefully Larry should be with us any second.
He's having trouble, it seems.
Oh, man.
He's texting me. He's sending me pictures of him.
He's a pro. He's done this so many times. Oh, there he is.
Yay! You're on mute.
You're
They gotta unmute you. Hold on. We gotta
You're
unmute.
still muted, Larry.
Can I unmute him?
Yeah, I
How's that?
there we go.
There we go.
Hey, Doug.
Yay!
Good to see you in Spain, huh?
Yes, in Spain, yeah.
No, I was doing everything right, and I was alone.
I was laughing because you were sending me those pictures. I'm like, yeah, you're in the right place.
Yeah, it was so weird. Good. And you're outside, Jerry, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, if I take off my background, I'm in what used to be my children's playroom. And so Travis knows this well. My background is where the wild things are. So
That's fine.
not super professional.
So, Doug, how you doing? Good.
Doing fine, thank you.
I
Yeah.
was talking to Hervé on Friday for about an hour, and he was telling me he can't sit still, and he's now consulting with a company with Saudi Arabia doing something.
That's right, yes,
And,
yeah.
yeah, he said his best to you, and he speaks the world of you, but he sounds good. He just turned 70. No, I'm saying this in a very endearing way. He told me he just downsized his home. So I thought, oh, what'd you do? You know, and Jerry and Travis and Hervé is the most humble, wonderful guy. He basically created Ritz-Carlton 40 years ago. They told me, yeah, I downsized. I let my wife do it. We downsized, Larry. You know, I'm telling you this because you're a friend. I'm not bragging. We downsized from a 9,000 square foot home to a 5,000 square foot home. When most people downsize from 5,000 to like a 2-bedroom condo in Beacon Hill. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But he's a dear friend, he's a sweet person, and he sends his best to you. I'm sure you speak to him a lot, right?
Fond memories of early days of this venture with him. He's a wonderful guy. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Mhm.
That's cool.
Now, Doug, why in Spain? What's in Spain?
Well, we also have a shipyard here. And I was traveling back, and we're within months of finishing our first yacht, and here in this yard, and I didn't want to be commuting.
Yeah.
So
And who knows with everything, all the things closing down and such too.
my family and I came across at the end of the summer, and my kids are in school here, which is a bit of an adventure for everybody. So
Do they speak Spanish?
they will by the end of the year, yeah. Yeah.
So, Doug, here's to run a show today. You and I are going to have a fireside chat, which would be great, for about maybe 45, 50 minutes.
Okay.
And then we'll open up a Q&A, of which Jerry and Travis will send me via chat some questions. And this will make sure they're always appropriate. And they always are. Like we did something a little while ago with the chairman of Duncan. You know, some people said, I hate your coffee, it stinks. And I don't mind saying I hate coffee, but just do it in a nice professional way. You know, if someone says I would never cruise anywhere, I'm fine with that, but just don't attack people. So I want to make sure the spirit is positive, enlightening. You know, we don't want to get involved in any conversations that are going to be like, you know, just not nice. That's all. And
That's
usually
okay.
what happens.
I've got a strong will for that anyway. I can handle the hecklers, so it's okay.
And you know, the beauty of this whole program today is really with the present society. You know, naturally, Ritz-Carlton is a high-end lifestyle brand, and the folks on this call today, you know, are some of the biggest donors. Huge visibility at Babson College, and again, I think besides the story, they would be probably very much aligned to be customers of yours in the future.
Yeah,
That's cool. Win-win-win.
Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm glad we finally managed to get. We were supposed to meet. Like many things that have been planned, the plan has evolved. So yeah. We did end up buying a boat. We did end up buying a boat in Boston, and we haven't. And if you can imagine it, we bought it and haven't seen it. And it's up in a boatyard in Maine now. It's for the winter.
Yeah. Are you a boat personally?
Yeah. Yeah.
What kind of a boat did you get?
We bought an Alden 56. It's a sort of a flybridge. We're usually sailors, but we bought a powerboat. So we're planning to cruise the Great Lakes in the coming summer.
Well, I've been out of boating for 20 years. I'm playing golf, but my last boat was a Viking, and I loved it. It was really. I mean, like Nantucket, Eggertown. I know people say, "Oh, it was really cool. You get a washer and dryer." It was a necessity for all the clothes, the kids, the bathing suits. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. But it was really a wonderful boat, and we went to Montauk. 70 nautical miles from Falmouth to Montauk, straight shot 3 hours. And I miss the boating days, but right now I'm a golfer, and like as you know, even this past summer in Falmouth Harbor, because I spent 4 months in the Cape this summer. I'm back in Sharon, Mass now, but a lot of the boats in Falmouth Harbor, they stayed at the docks. They weren't moving. They were just sitting there the entire summer. They weren't going anywhere. Yeah.
So it's we're hoping to get it out in May, and then go up the Hudson and then through the Oswego Canal and into the Great Lakes. That's our plan. So we'll see.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, so we're going to have people joining us momentarily. So I think, Travis, if you want to put up the slides.
Perfect.
Fabulous.
There we are.
Yeah, there we are. I'm back in a mini second.
Okay. Oh. Church next door.
I love it. My daughter goes to school at Stonehill, which isn't far from where Larry lives, and her residence hall is right next to the chapel, so the bells go off all the time. I'm always like, "Oh, Kate, so nice. Go to sleep to the bells." Welcome, everybody who's joining us. Just going to wait a couple minutes, let people log in.
Sure. And Jerry, these folks are from all around the globe, huh?
That's right. So you'll hear me say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, because based on where they're living.
Very good.
And Doug, what time is it where you are? Is it 6:00 p.m.?
I'm in 5. Our time has changed already.
What time is it?
It's 5 p.m. So normally it would be 6, but Europe changes.
This weekend.
We changed already. So when do you change? You change
on Saturday night.
Oh, on
Yeah,
Saturday. Okay. Right.
Yep.
So it's.
Yeah, it's going to be lovely. It's going to get dark at 4:15 at night. It's going to be great. Really. So Jerry, you do the intro and everything, and I do my program, and then at the end I thank Doug, and you come back on and you thank everybody for coming, and that's it, right?
Yep. Well, but in between, Larry, between your program and the end, we're going to make sure we have time for Q&A. So I'll give you a heads up if we're running long, and we'll go from there.
And the Q&A you'll be getting to me through the chat room, right?
That's
okay.
Right.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right, I think I'm going to get started so we don't get too far behind. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wishing you all a warm welcome wherever in the world you're joining us from. For those of you I don't know, my name is Jerry Randlett. I have the great pleasure of serving as the Assistant Vice President of Alumni Engagement at Babson. And I'm so delighted to be bringing this inaugural Prez Talk program to you today, and I hope it's the start of something we can all benefit from. To that end, after today's program, I ask that you please send me any thoughts you have about potential speakers or other ideas you have about information that we can bring to you, our President's members. I have a couple housekeeping items before I introduce today's speakers. And we're actually going to put some of them in the chat. So if you can't follow along because I talk a little too fast, no worries. In WebEx, if all attendees could take a moment and switch off their cameras and confirm that their audio is muted, that would be helpful. For our conversation, we recommend the active speaker view in WebEx. You can adjust this by hovering over the top right corner of your screen within WebEx and selecting that option. If you have any trouble at all, feel free to put something in the chat and one of us will assist you. Additionally, we hope to have time at the end, 15-20 minutes, to have you guys ask questions of our speakers. So please feel free to add your questions to the chat, and myself, Larry, and Travis will do our best to moderate these questions for you. Now I'm going to introduce our speakers for today. So my dear friend Larry Gulko is a Babson MBA alum. He has lectured in the Olin Graduate School of Business and has established a strategic relationship with Babson Executive Education. He is a brand strategist, executive coach, and growth advisor with a track record for positioning an eclectic range of brands to compete more effectively in today's ever-changing business landscape. He created Brand New Day, the only private one-day brand building and strategic marketing retreat designed for a company's management team to take their brand to the next level. He is the co-host of Name Brands, a CBS Boston brand leadership podcast show featuring in-studio conversations with the CEOs who are building best-selling and iconic brands. Douglas Prothero is an experienced entrepreneur who has founded numerous enterprises with lead responsibility for product development, ship design, construction, and marine operations. He is the founding partner and chief executive officer at the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection. Doug was educated in maritime studies and has been a shipmaster since 1989. He has over 35 years of professional experience in the marine industry, including running all facets of maritime businesses involving commercial vessels and private yachts. Larry, I now turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jerry. And Doug, I want to thank you for being with us. And for those who don't know, Doug is the CEO of the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection. And Doug recently relocated his family to Spain from Coconut Grove in Florida because they're in the midst of launching and building right now their first cruise ship that's going to be, I guess, coming out in March, which we'll talk about with Doug. So Doug, to start off, I want to ask you a question. I read a quote a little while ago, in a press release. I'd like for you to just share your thoughts with it. You mentioned we are delighted to collaborate with the Ritz-Carlton as our hospitality operator and offering the most exclusive yachting experience we found at sea, an adventure that will give new meaning to curated luxury travel. Can you share with us who are we,
Mm-hmm.
and also the curated luxury travel? I've seen in the articles I've written and information I've received from your company and so forth, the word curated is really one of the key words you use. So if you could share with us your thoughts on the who we and the curated, I think that would be a good starting point for us.
Sure. Thank you, Larry. And first, thank you to everyone for my daughter who just delivered a bowl of popcorn. I'm going to thank her for that. You want to say hi, Bella? There you go. Okay. Let's see. Where do I start? Who is we? I'm partnered up with Oaktree, which is a large private equity group. So the investment side of this is myself personally, together with Oaktree. And we are in a co-managed venture with Marriott International on this project. So I proposed the idea to Marriott a number of years ago, and we started the development phase then, and have been working on it ever since. Oaktree is a great partner in that Oaktree internationally owns over 300 ships. They don't own any passenger ships, but they own every other kind of ship you can imagine. And so it was a bit of a needle in a haystack, but I found the perfect private equity partner in Oaktree, as they understand shipbuilding, they understand shipbuilding contracts, and the like. In terms of what do we mean by curated, we literally mean that. I should say the we also includes quite a dynamic team of professionals from across luxury travel and cruise, who we put together to build up this venture, together with the brand team and sales teams at Marriott Luxury Brands. In terms of curated, we literally, this is a lifestyle, yachting lifestyle product. So we started with the concept of first, actually what we did was we sat down with luxury travel advisors. If you could sort of have the perfect ultra luxury cruise experience, what should we build? So we started there. We sort of started at the consumer end. So everything about the ship is designed around the guest. Everything about the guest experience is intended to sort of mirror a super yacht lifestyle. It'd be like to go on your own super yacht on this voyage. So the itinerary style, the dining, when you dine, what's available to you, all of these things are sort of at the heart of what we have developed.
But Doug, you've been, as Jerry mentioned, you've been a shipmaster since 1989. What was the defining moment, I'm curious to know, that inspired you to venture in the marine business versus any other market segment? And also share with us, what is a shipmaster as well?
Well, thanks. I guess the thing that inspired me, I didn't have, my inspiration came at birth. So I grew up in a family in the maritime industry. So it was, yes, baptism by fire. And so, that was the start. What really took me into this business, though, and specifically the business of taking people to sea, was in my sort of around 16 or 17, I spent a summer in a British square rigger big sailing ship, which was really an adventure, a form of adventure tourism, adventure travel.
Right.
And it really that really was the thing that got me inspired to take people to sea and to find and create experiences for people at sea.
Right. It's interesting. I always ask clients, and through my 30 years of helping companies build their brands, one of the questions I always ask people is, what are you really selling? And when I say that, for example, when I was consulting with Harley Davidson, the motorcycle company, they're not selling motorcycles. Harley's selling freedom, and Disney is selling happiness, and Boston Children's Hospital is selling hope, and Life is Good is selling good vibes and optimism. And when I talked to Hervé Hemler, who was the founder and the CEO of Ritz-Carlton for 40 years, Hervé would say to me, Larry, at Ritz-Carlton, we're selling magical moments. What would you say the Ritz-Carlton Yacht collection is really selling that emotionally connects with the consumer, that they perceive there's no other brand quite like yours in the space that you're living in?
It's discovery. Mm-hmm. And I think back to, you asked me the question, and just to answer your earlier question, a shipmaster is a captain. I think the idea of taking people not just to places, but into places in a meaningful way, and so and a voyage of discovery can mean many things. And I think in our case, it does mean many things. There's a lot of ways to discover the ship, and there's a lot of ways to discover the destination, and there's a lot of ways to discover the brand through Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection.
Right. No, I just really think Royal Caribbean and other cruise ships because it was easy. So when you have kids that are younger, there's no renting a car, there's no what are we doing tonight. It's pretty easy vacation to go on a cruise ship. But tell us about this new product launch, because I know it was announced in 2017, and then with COVID, there was a little naturally delay in the process, whatever. But tell us about the significance of launching this, of first of all, going into the cruise business. Second of all, the intimate size of the vessel I hear is about 300 passengers. And let me just correct, the name of the first cruise ship, is it called Evrima?
Yes.
Evrima? Evrima.
Evrima. Evrima is an ancient Greek word for discovery.
Oh, really? Great. Awesome.
Just so happens, yes. And I, believe it or not, I hadn't connected those two things until just now in terms of the, in terms of the overall messaging. But it's an ancient Greek word meaning discovery.
Right. Yeah. So tell us about the launch to date. Some of the challenges you've had, because I know you publicized it, the press release 3 years ago. Let's take us through as an entrepreneur, a visionary, some of the challenges that you've encountered and how you've overcome some of these challenges to bring into present day. Because I believe you mentioned, I read that the first cruise ship of Evrima is going to be launched sometime in March or April of next year.
That's right. Well, so the journey to here has been a many-headed beast. I mean, initially, so the initial piece of this is that, Marriott had considered going into cruise or finding a way into cruise for many years, more than 20 years prior to this. But the, sort of the right opportunity, the right partners had never really come along. And so I think the first thing was figuring out how to, what would it be like to take the Ritz-Carlton brand? What would that be like? So that journey was, that was almost a couple of years figuring out what are the differences between just hotel development versus taking the brand to sea. And then we worked on, and a lot of this was focus groups where we figured out what should we actually build. And I mean, physically, what should we build? You alluded to the space and the intimacy of this ship. I can tell you there are, when it's full guests and crew, you have, as you said, 300 guests and another 250 crew. So around 550 people maximum on board. And today, at any one time in the final construction phase here, we have up around 850 at a time working on board the ship, 850 workers at the shipyard. And I can tell you, you can walk through the ship, and with 850, there's loads of room around. You can roam around and not run into people all over the place. So it's a very intimate, a lot of space per guest, deliberately a high crew to passenger ratio, almost 1-to-1. And so the journey was design. What are we going to build? And we wanted to build a ship that people would look at differently. So and that's proven itself out. So about half of the people who have booked this have never taken a cruise and never considered a cruise before. So,
but they've been fans of Ritz-Carlton, right?
Some of them, many of them, of course, and some of them are just attracted to the differentiation of what's being built here. So a combination of a Ritz-Carlton, a brand they trust,
right,
and this yacht design that there's just no other way to really get on a super yacht unless you own it or charter it.
Right.
So that was sort of the design and product phase, and then it was finding a shipyard who would entertain building the ship. And then, then it was assembling the money.
Yeah,
that was about a 5-year journey. Okay, and then so in the 5th year, or the 4.5-year mark, we found Oaktree, or we found each other, and then we started to assemble the financial part. I'm giving you a very abbreviated version of a long story. And then we started construction we started in the summer of 2017. We started the technical design process, and we put the ship in the water, hull in the water in the fall of 2018. The shipyard itself ran into some financial difficulties in 2019, which resulted in us an entity to take over the shipyard. Happened this summer past. We put in all new management, and we're now have a different team completing our own first vessel. So it's it's been it's already been an interesting journey.
Right. So the journey continues. Come last February, March, the pandemic hits. Share with us your mindset when that happened. So I believe, were you planning on launching the first ship this past spring? Was that part of the plan?
We were originally going to. That was initially impacted by the issues at the yard. And then then when COVID came, it had an impact of a number of months.
Right.
And we expect, we like everyone in this world, we continue to monitor the impact and see when things will normalize.
Right. But then let me ask you a question, because I always tell people that, you want to be an aspirational brand. Because I always tell people, and I say in the business, like nobody needs Ritz-Carlton. Nobody needs Babson College. It's all about wants. Nobody needs a Rolex watch. The Rolex watch takes the same time as a Timex watch. You know what I'm saying? So it's a want. So what are you doing in either your design or your curated experiences? What are you doing to create a brand that people want? Because when people want a brand, they will find the extra pennies, dollars, or whatever it might be to experience and buy that product. So what are you doing, or what have you done to emotionally connect so people want to be in this cruise ship? They want that experience. Because again, they don't want to go and find. And nothing against Royal Caribbean. They don't want to be in a 5,000-person cruise ship. It's a whole different experience. It's a whole different gig. So it's nice that you've carved out a certain niche of where you want to be and where you don't want to be. So what are you doing to create a want versus a need for this brand?
Well, a lot of there's a portion of it that's been done by the brand itself, of course. A lot of the heavy lifting, right? And so, and that is the trust that comes with the brand. People know what to expect,
right?
And then, but I think at Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection, a key element of the brand Ritz-Carlton is anticipatory service, and that's what guests. That's what guests trust. That's what they expect. And I can tell you that I'll give you an example of something that happened last week at the shipyard.
Right.
So there's two teams at the shipyard. There's the team that builds the ship, and then there's the owner's team. And the team is there to ensure that what the owner is going to get is what the owner wants, and what the owner wants is what his or her guest wants.
Right.
Okay. So there's a lady who works on our team there who's in the hotel outfitting department. Okay. And she was standing there arguing with about 20 contractors about a section of floating floor. That's an insulated floor that goes underneath. So there's a machinery space below that, and you don't want any sound or vibration coming up through that floor. So you put an insulated floor down first before any of the other flooring. And she was standing there explaining to them what that was going to be like for the guest walking from the private dining room to the bar if they didn't replace this one section of flooring that she felt was needed to be redone. And it was so I think the point is that the guest experience lives in every single element of what's been developed here, from the very beginning from the very beginning of the concept to the day the first guest arrives back home.
Right.
What is that entire experience like? So the guest journey, you hear guest journey, guest experience in everything that our team does.
Wow.
They're driven by.
But tell me, like, how many pre-bookings have you received so far to date?
We don't put out the numbers per se, but I can tell you that we're above plan.
Great.
The plan was market, and we're above market. I mean, our biggest challenge is actually how soon can we get number two?
And you're putting 3 ships, right? Initially?
Well, we're putting 3 initially. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was on a call about number 2 just an hour ago. So we're working to cut steel on number 2 as soon as possible.
So how do you see the evolution of the brand? For example, you have 1, 2, and 3. Will 1, 2, and 3 be very similar? I'm just using numbers like 80%, Larry, let's say, is really a similar ship, just different style, decor, whatever. Or is the brand expansion among the brand portfolio of the yacht collection? How differentiated will 2 and 3 be?
2 and 3 will be similar. I think on the horizon, to the moderately untrained eye, they look exactly the same.
Yeah.
There's actually there's a difference between 1 and 2, and 2 and 3 are exact sisters. So, but it's really it's based on regulations. 2 is a little bit wider and a little bit longer, but again, most people wouldn't even notice that. Otherwise, it's design intent of the interior. They're literally 3 sisters.
Did you decide to do 3 for the purpose of geographic? Like, one will be sailing in the Mediterranean, and one will be sailing in the Caribbean and the Panama and so forth, and one somewhere else? Is it really like geographic location and population determine how many ships you're going to have in this portfolio?
Right. And numbers, exactly. I mean, we haven't determined how many we know we're going to build at least 3.
Right.
We haven't determined how many in total we will build. But number 1 is actually the only ultra luxury ship that can go west of Montreal. So it's designed to fit through the St. Lawrence.
Wow.
It's, the locks on the St. Lawrence, the ship, we've designed it. It has 3 inches of clearance on either side.
3.
To go 3 inches on either side to go through the St. Lawrence Seaway. So that gets you around the rapids at Montreal and then around Niagara Falls. So we can literally go from Montreal to Chicago, in this ultra luxury super yacht with our guests. So that the other 2 will not. The next 2 in the series will not be able to do that because of the increase in the beam in the width. But coming back to your original question, we sort of envision that there's enough between the Great Lakes in the summer and the Mediterranean in the summer that will occupy three of the yacht's summers,
Right.
And then winters between the Caribbean side and the Middle East, Caribbean, and the Pacific side.
Right.
That keeps those 3 engaged. So from there we envision sort of going further east as we develop more ships.
Yeah, I always feel that beyond ability or the affluence to or want to spend the money to enjoy the kind of vacation or experience you're going to deliver, it's really more of a mindset. Like, for example, in private aviation, I have several friends who can afford private aviation, but they're not going to spend $40,000 going round trip from Boston to Fort Lauderdale on a private jet. It's just not a priority for them.
Yeah.
So I'm asking you, who do you define as your ideal customer in terms of buyer motivation, in terms of psychographics, lifestyle, mindset? Who is this target audience that you feel is going to be comprised of really legions of raving fans for your brand, not just in March, but really have consumer affection and brand loyalty for many years to come?
Well, I mean, I can tell you what we're finding is that people. Let me talk a little bit first about what the actual voyage experience is like, because I think it's it's a combination of the design, the brand, and then I think it's what the ship is, the product, what the actual product is. So, if someone's looking for, well, first of all, half of the people aren't looking for a cruise to begin with, right? So that's an interesting challenge. And it's what we were expecting, and it's what we will need to get right. But if you're a cruiser, someone who's an experienced cruiser who's looking to be in a different port every day, and be the ship arriving at 9 a.m. and leaving at 4 p.m, that's not what this is.
Right. They want that. They have Royal Caribbean, they have Celebrity, they have Princess. That's really commoditized business, right?
So this is actually what you would be doing if you were on your own yacht. So there's a lot of overnight in port, anchored in a bay off of a beach. We still, in a typical 7-day voyage, there will be 4 ports of call, not 7.
That's
in
right.
a 10-day voyage, there'll be 6, or maybe there'll be 7. So right. In other words, it's a slower pace. So
right.
people who, some people who will want to have everything planned in advance. And other people, I mean, when I travel, I know where I'm going, and that's it. I like to do it when I get there because I don't know what I feel like doing.
Right.
Yeah? And so for us, it's about getting that concierge team, both on the yacht and ashore, ready for anything. So anticipating things that we know people already want to do in St. Bart's,
right,
and the things that they're going to come up with at the very last minute. This is where it's interesting to tie back to local properties, right? So any Marriott luxury branded hotel that's in a port of call where we're going, our team ties up with their concierge team. We already know how our Marriott luxury customer travels in Aruba,
right?
Because so our team works together with the Ritz-Carlton team at the Ritz-Carlton in Aruba to say, how does a Ritz-Carlton customer experience Aruba? And we bring all that to our,
right.
to our guest.
So basically I love it because, I mean, I was a boater for many years, and it's called local knowledge, right? So you've combined the local knowledge with the experiences that that like you said, like Aruba, what people do there. So basically you want to mirror what those kind of guests want to do, how they want to do it. And so really it's like seamless. So you have great partners around the world that can enable you to kind of just come on in and adopt or leverage the experience that you want to deliver.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, as far as design, where do you get most of your design? Is it from pop culture? Is it from working with fashion designers? How did you create the design for the interior? And if you could you describe the motive for the design? Is it contemporary? Is it very much staid? Is it more traditional, like Ritz-Carlton, in fact, whatever? What's the design persona look like?
Well, I think generally Ritz-Carlton design has moved in a direction of modern casual luxury, generally speaking. So from something more traditional. In this case, so normally on a ship of this size, you would have at least 5 or 6 designers. We have one. We deliberately went with one, and we went with one because, well, that's what you do with a yacht. Typically, a yacht has one designer, and we wanted to have this. I remember going on a new cruise ship, And we were doing this as a reference. So whenever you're going to build at a shipyard, you go see another ship they've built. And you do that
Right.
so you have a reference point for the ship
Right.
you're going to build with them. So we were on a reference ship visit, say, a couple of years before we contracted. And you could tell where one designer ended and the other began. Walking through the ship, you could feel that like it were these hard transitions. So we wanted to make sure that we had this cohesive flow of, like everything else, well thought through. What is the guest experience? What is this flow going to be like? And so we went with a Swedish designer. So I would describe this as a Scandinavian, modern, simplistic, timeless, still timeless.
Right. Yeah.
The designer we gave the designer a lot of freedom. Some in the yard would say too much freedom. But what we're getting in the end is, I mean, literally, so we've had a few other shipyards come to see the ship recently, and they're like, this is just a standard, like nobody has built this standard before. So it's really, it's exciting to see it coming together. Like every construction project, they look like a dumpster until the last, in the last few months, it's just, it's really coming to life now by the day.
Doug, that's really kind of cool that initially one of my questions was going to talk to you about, you're really in the crowded market segment, but the way you talk about it, you're not really in a crowded market segment because, yes, even though cruising, and there's so many ships out there, and I call them all commoditized. And, I mentioned some of the brands before, but when you mentioned earlier that most of the folks who have booked, they have the trust and they're raving fans of Ritz-Carlton, and they never cruised before. It's not like it's not like you're trying to get cruises out of Celebrity and Holland America. It's a different gig. So
and we're not really telling our story in that space. Deliberately, right? We're telling it in the Ritz-Carlton space, which has its own place and space.
Right.
And also, I think our guest is mostly not choosing between us and another cruise. They're choosing between us and a safari, or us and a villa, or
another experience. Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, I just think it's fascinating because it's almost like, I always tell people, what can you do to dominate your product category? But instead of dominating the product category, you're really creating a category. And I love what you said. We talk about uniquely curated travel experiences and discovery. So you're right, that mindset. If you want to go on a discovery life experience, it happens to be a cruise ship, versus like I want to go on a cruise. It happens to be you're going to get there by water, and you're going to get all the amenities and the white glove service and the ladies and gentlemen servicing ladies and gentlemen. You're going to get the Ritz-Carlton service at sea. So it's almost like you're really creating your own new category that never existed before. Even though it's taken about 20 years for Marriott to enter this marketplace, it seems like you're really in a home run situation as long as all these pieces of the puzzle come together in a timely manner as you envision it to be. Huh? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell me, share with us and the viewers here today, what are some of the industry trends that are taking place and how they're impacting your strategy? Are some of the trends right now, current day, are they fundamental changes? Doug, do any represent threats versus opportunity? Just share with us the trends of the cruise industry.
If we just go back to where we were 9 months ago, so pre-COVID, because I think COVID is this event, that is a moment in time. I do think there will be some things that come out of COVID in terms of the way people travel. But I'm not sitting here wondering if luxury travelers are going to travel. We know from hearing from them directly that, like I'm sure many people on this call can't wait to get going. And are just waiting for things to be in a place where that feels right. So I think the focus, if we sort of step back before that and where I think we're headed, I think we're headed to a strong focus on sustainability and responsible travel.
Right.
And, so that is also about, this ship is designed It doesn't burn heavy fuel oil. It only burns marine gas oil, which is a low sulfur fuel. Our program is slow. It's like
Right.
it's deliberately at that slower pace, which also means that the impact we have is lower. I think the impact you have in a community, and that is number of guests that you're arriving in a place with appropriate, and are you pre-planning that in a way that has that your guests have a great experience and that the community you're visiting has
Right.
gets a benefit from your visit, like
Right.
it needs for the place you're calling on as well. And
Sure.
I don't just mean the port fees, but are you supporting the arts community? Are you well, one of the things I can tell you, one of the programs in our toolkit here is called Patron of the Arts. And so we're not hiring a local steel drum band. We actually have this fund that we invite the local arts community in the destination we cruise to apply for a grant, essentially, to do a project to present to our arts in all terms. So,
Right.
so then there's two things about that. One is we want to leave a positive impact on that community, and we want our guests to get a true sense of the place. As we say, take someone into the destination, not just to the destination.
Well, it's interesting. I always feel there's no substitute for innovation, but what you're doing is bold and disruptive. And that I was just thinking also that great brands today, successful brands, are purpose driven, and it seems like this is one idea, one initiative that feeds into your purpose driven. Not just I was with the CEO of Merck Pharmaceuticals about a year ago, and he says if you don't have purpose, you have no profits. If you have purpose, the profits will come. Yep. And so I really believe that great brands have to have a purpose, and not just as a PR stint, but something that's part of their DNA and something that's part of their culture, which is what you just reflected on, in a very eloquent way as far as integrating with the different ports. How can we create authenticity? Again, the exploration, the curating. So it really is, we're delivering on our brand promise. So I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. So let me answer this question. And a while ago, Bain did a study, and it's a phenomenal study. And Bain did a study on with 300 CEOs, and 87% of the CEOs said that they deliver an exceptional customer experience. Then they went to the customers of these 300 companies. They asked the customers, what percent of you believe that you're receiving exceptional customer experience? I'm just asking you, I'm going to tell you the answer. What percent of the customers do you feel agreed with the 300 CEOs that they were delivering an exceptional experience? What percent would you think would be
half?
Pretty cool number. Half? Well, I'm glad you're sitting down in Spain, right? The real number is 8%.
Wow.
8% is like zero to me. I mean, that's a huge disconnect between the ivory tower and the consumer. And I read an article the other day in the Harvard Business Review, and it said that the average CEO works 70 hours a week, only spends 3% of his or her time with a customer. So I'm asking you, you haven't sailed yet, but how are you keeping close to the customer that you want to service, to be a real fan of your brand, not just now, but in the future? Share with me your leadership style and just style of getting to know, be intimate with the customer. So you're never in a vacuum. You really know firsthand what they're thinking, their mind, how they're wired, what they want out of you. How are you doing that?
Well, a few different ways. First of all, this is about, it's always about people, right?
Right.
And at the heart of Ritz-Carlton, ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen, is that, if you hire the right people and you train them properly and you have them understand what we're doing together, passionate about it, and you take care of them, that's the other thing. You treat them like a valued customer, as much as you can. Then that's what your guest gets. And I have to say, I'm one of those people who doesn't give 100%. to anybody, ever. So I don't give myself 100%. I don't give anybody else 100%. But what I believe about that is that it's more important that you know what you can do for the people that you only scored. Well, you really need to figure out what you need to do for the people you only scored 8% on. But it's what you do when you didn't get it right.
Right.
That is important. So that's what I think anyway. So because if you do all the other things, most of the time you're going to get it right. People know that you are, if you've designed the right product and you, in our case, you have the right brand, and you've got the right people and you're delivering that in the right way, then there are still times when it's going to go wrong. People have a bad day, something happens. It's what you do then. So when things get elevated at our company, I either myself or one of the senior vice presidents calls that person directly. And there are customers, I can tell you there are customers now who were upset about something at one time or another, who email me now when they see an article that they think might be of interest to me, they think might help me elevate our product. That's exactly what you want.
That's right. They become best friends. Right.
Yeah. And so I have a pool of people in my inbox, in a subfolder of my inbox, which are those people who have, and they're like a focus group for me. So if I've got something I want to put out to customers, I go right to that group of people who I know had an issue with something on the service level, and that we sorted out with them. And they're a trusted customer of ours, and they know that they're going to be heard.
Right. And they become great brand ambassadors for you as well.
Yeah.
You touched on the word people. That brings me to something I want to talk to you about. And I have two quotes here. And really, this is a great segue. Richard Branson is always quoted saying, "Train people well enough so they can leave, but treat them well enough so they don't want to." Yeah. And the former chairman of Disney, his quote was, "I believe you have the opportunity to fashion an organization where everyone's involved, everyone's fully engaged, and everyone's a player." So I call that internal branding, not external branding. So what did you and your team do, Doug, to create a culture, an environment, so people who are working for you, whether they be at your home office, on the ship, whatever, are living and breathing the brand. They believe in your vision, and most importantly, they understand what their role is to help the brand achieve the success that you envision. And basically, how do you choreograph a remarkable customer experience to everybody? They'll saying, everyone's rowing in the same direction. How do you do that to keep the inspiration and motivation high, so people are really, brand ambassadors internally?
You know what that is?
Yeah.
That's the Ritz-Carlton Credo cards.
Every day in the morning, they go over it, who we are. Right.
So what we do is, and I'll tell you is, so everybody knows where this is.
Right.
I keep it in my wallet in my phone.
Right.
Okay. And every day, and I mean every day, 5 days a week, and during the entire time during COVID, where people are working from home, our entire team, apart from the shipyard guys, are working from home.
Yeah.
And we're a digital company, new digital company, so we were able to do that without a hesitation. I think we had a 3-hour delay going from full office to full home. But every day, so every one of the service values, every working day of the week, someone somewhere in the world on the team takes one of those service values and conveys to the rest of the team what the service value is. The first thing they do, actually, and so this is like a 15-minute slot every day, where everybody in the entire company, that's what they're doing. And we have it in the middle of the day in Europe, so that it can be the morning in the middle of the afternoon in Europe, so that it's morning in Miami office time. And they first thing the person says is, "This is 1 year from next year at this time, the yacht will be in whatever, and this is what our guests will be doing." And then they say, "And today's service value is whatever service value they were assigned." And then they talk about their own experience around that service value, either what it means to them, or an experience they had with a customer about that service value. And then, so that thing gets mixed up, ways of working around the basic service values of Ritz-Carlton get treated differently by the whole cycle of employees every day around the world.
Well, that's awesome. That's really great. And I was wondering also, as far as choreographing the experience, everybody then knows what the experience will look like and what it shouldn't look like, right?
Yes, exactly.
And some of the people you've employed or intend to employ to work on the first ship. Are they Ritz-Carlton employees right now that are in hospitality that you're taking them core group from the hotel business and bringing them on board?
Yeah, it's a good question. We have people who have also been in Ritz-Carlton and been in cruise. So we love to find those people,
right?
Because they already, if they've worked at a property, they have all of the brand training, and if they worked in cruise, then they already know how all that works. So it's a mix. Principally, there are people who have a cruise background who have learned the brand. But then there's also a percentage of the people, I don't know, maybe around 15% of the people or something that have worked at a Ritz-Carlton at one point in their careers.
Wow. Yeah. And really, I would love to, when this thing sails, I'd love to come on board and do some type of a brand interaction with customers, whatever, and create a nice little video. I think it'd be really pretty cool.
Yeah, I can tell you it's taken very seriously. It's fun, and we make it's light, it's serious enough, but also lighthearted. People, it's a fun group of people, and this is also what creates their passion about what we're developing together. Right. I'll tell you a story about what I think has brought, for people who came to us from cruise, who and what they see differently about this. We were starting to work on itineraries in the early, shortly after we launched the company, officially launched the company in 2017. And I was headed to our first sort of blockout meeting for itineraries, and people were invited to this meeting who'd been in cruise for many, many years and never gone to an itinerary meeting, and really? People that it would surprise you, wow. People from reservations, for example, right. The people who talk to the customer, right. And I was walking by the air desk, and the lady who runs air, I said, Eileen, we're going to an itinerary meeting. She said, "Well, I don't go to," and she's been in the business a very long time, and she's never been. She's like, I don't go to itinerary meetings. I've never been to an itinerary meeting. I was like, are you kidding me? So, and sure enough, we're sitting in this first itinerary blockout meeting, and it was going to be. We were choosing between St. Lucia and Barbados, and she immediately spoke up and said, "It has to be Barbados. You will not get the airlift on that day, on that long weekend, for Americans. You will not get that airlift out of St. Lucia." And I said, now you know why you're at this meeting, and so it's about, so if the guest experience is that thought across the entire team, right, those things I think that make it memorable, and will give people the opportunity to have a voyage of discovery. Yeah.
Doug, I have a process called negative problem checking. I mean, like you and I both know, with you, if I was a prospect for your product, the brand, and I said, Doug, tell me why I should be, cruising or, enjoying this experience. We know the story of why I would say yes. I'm curious to know why. What do you anticipate somebody might say? It sounds good, but I don't think so. What are even currently when you're doing the bookings? For what reason do you hear people say the word no after you've told them this really amazing story, new brand, a new category, new experience, one of a kind? Well, what's the reason the brand hears the word no?
Anybody who, we start with where people find us. Yeah. So how did they get to us in the first place? So if they're loyal brand customers, and because we don't, we're not cold calling anybody, they're coming to us, right? So it's about, they read something, they went to a Babson College presentation, whatever it is, and then they call us to find out more about it. Right. and so they're inbound already, so they have an interest. Then really normally it is a case of they haven't found a voyage that fits their plans.
Right.
I mean, if we get people to the point where they're inquiring, they typically that they just, they're inquiring, so they're going because it's something they plan to do in the future,
Right.
or they're inquiring and they're going to book, or
Right.
they, but we're not running into things like, oh, your price point is this, or
Right.
I'm looking for a bigger ship with more people. We don't hear that.
No.
Right.
You can tell them where to go for that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it could be itinerary. So I'm looking for June, but I want to be here, and we're there. Okay, so we're going to come
Right.
next year. It's more
Right.
those kinds of things.
Doug, share with us, what's the average, the range for a 7-day cruise or experience on the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection? What's the ballpark price for a week?
So 7-day Mediterranean,
Right.
single per person, 6,000 inclusive of food and beverage.
Okay, and also is that for a cabins? I know also you have I think what is half the ship suites as well.
Yeah. So the smallest suite is oh geez, I'm going to do this in metric. It's about 30 square meters, which is around 300. Is Sarah on the line here still?
Sarah's not helping me on this one.
I'm from Canada, right? So I have the metric. I have metric in my brain, and now I'm in Europe where it's all metric. So 30 square meters, which is roughly 300 and around, let's say 300 square feet.
Yeah.
If somebody can text in and correct me on that, that's fine. Ranging all the way up to an owner's suite, which is, I do know in square feet, is around 1,100 square feet with 500 square foot terrace. So, that's the range.
Cool.
And
how many floors are there on the ship?
It's 11 decks, and 6 of those are guest facing decks.
Oh, cool. Now you mentioned before that people can get to know you. I've seen lately more information being posted on LinkedIn. I've seen lately. So how are you leveraging social media to capture mind share about the brand?
It's through all of the normal channels. So LinkedIn is obviously, Facebook. We have between the brand team at Marriott, Marriott Luxury Brands, I should say, and our own digital team. I mean, we have an army of people who just work social media all day long. And it's an important place to also gather guest feedback.
Yeah, that's great.
And also learn about what we every once in a while we say, hey, we're looking at this destination. Would you like to see more of this, or would you like to see more of that? Because our itinerary process is, we get as creative as we can be, and we try to, we have to try to envision what do people want to do in the Southern Caribbean. Right. And I know.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, so I know where I want to go. I know where I like to go in the Southern Caribbean.
Right.
And we try to gather as much of that as we can to offer that to our guests.
Right. And basically what you're alluding to is how your biggest challenge is how can you keep your brand fresh and relevant as it evolves, not just with the first ship, the second and third. So basically the experience or what people expect is delivered. And even though it might be a little different experience, it really is in line with your brand persona and with the clientele that you attract and the experiences they enjoy the most. And that's why they are paying whatever you're going to charge, because they feel that the value derived, it equates with the money spent for the fee. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
again, and very little of what we, I mean, I don't think we ever find ourselves talking about price. That isn't. It's just, it's priced against the luxury cruise market at a premium to that. And again, our biggest challenge is getting more inventory.
Right, and like I always tell people, it's all about creating value. If you're really talking about price, then I don't want to be in the price business. If you're in Walmart or Target, or whatever, that's fine. But you're not in the price business, and you know who your customer is, and you know who the niche is, and also most importantly, you know why you created this brand.
Yep.
You know exactly why you created the brand to differentiate from anything else in the market. Do you get involved like on the ship itself? Do you do it? I mean, people grow organically, or they grow by creating strategic partnerships. Are there any co-marketing opportunities? Let's like on the ship itself, do you have either restaurateurs or spas or other organizations or services that you're co-marketing with that are known, by their vision, their culture, their brand elegance that aligns with the Ritz-Carlton, brand persona, brand voice?
On the culinary side, we have a Michelin, 10 years running 3-star Michelin chef who has a concept restaurant on board.
Awesome.
He's from the Michelin. He's from the Ritz-Carlton Wolfsburg in Germany. Sven Elverfeld. So
Right.
Sven has a place on board. That's it in terms of the culinary program. The thing we take really seriously, like our destination research, like our itinerary research, is we want to introduce people to something they don't know.
Right.
So our focus is on, when we look at a destination and we look at what can we bring to our guest in that destination, we're looking for one area, one deck of the ship is a gallery, and that gallery changes every season. So so Caribbean season it will be a gallery of works of emerging artists in the Caribbean region.
Right.
Mediterranean, same thing. Canada,
Right.
New England, same thing. Yeah. So
Right.
we're trying to introduce our well-traveled guest, our distinguished guests. We're trying to introduce them to new artists, to things they haven't seen before, but we think they will be interested in learning about, and also potentially become patrons of those artists.
Right. So Doug, let's. I have one more question. Then I want to get into my up close my lightning round with you, and then we'll do the Q&A. Okay.
Great.
Let's fast forward. Share with us through your business lens. If you and I are talking 3 years from now, or when we talk 3 years from now, not if, what vision will we be talking about in terms of the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection? What it'll look like? What transformations do you anticipate will take place that will impact your brand and the cruising industry in general?
Okay, 3 years from now, I think we'll be talking about a broader itinerary coverage of the globe than we're talking about now. With more coverage in the Middle East and Indian Ocean and Asia. So from an itinerary standpoint, I think we will be well into the next generation ship design by then. We will have we will have a second ship delivered and a third ship either delivered or very close to delivered. And I think we will still be in a place where we barely scratch the surface of the number of people who want to go with us.
Great.
In terms of the industry, I think the industry is going to, the industry probably had its strongest year in 2019. I think it will return to those days at some point in an evolved way.
Right.
I'm pleased that we are in a part of the business that is more niche and that is intimate. And I think that, and as I said earlier, I think the strong focus is going to be on sustainability, not ships that are designed as sustainable as possible, and destination calls that truly take into consideration the impact that our guests will have, the experience our guests will have, combined with the impact they will have in the places they go.
Basically, at the end of the day, it's all about continuing to curate, and also to make sure that the discovery is always pushing the envelope one step ahead, so it never gets complacent. Yeah. All right. Here's my lightning round, Doug. You ready? These are fast answers, no thinking, boom, 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 right?
Okay, let's see.
Okay. Who in your life has been an inspiration to you or an amazing mentor?
Father.
Share with us one word that describes you best.
Curious.
Curious. I love it. I'm really curious. Someone sent me a mug a little while ago. It just said really curious. Not just curious. That's great. I love it. What advice would you give your 25-year-old self?
Keep on driving.
That's right. Okay. Doug, what keeps you up at 3 a.m. thinking about this brand? Besides
Nothing.
everything.
I have 7-year-old twins. Nothing keeps me up at 3 a.m.
Okay.
I'm totally asleep by then.
Okay. What do you feel could be or is a misperception about the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection?
I think the only misperception is by people who haven't called it.
Okay. Tell us something we don't know about you.
I'm also a jazz trumpet player.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Wow. Did you play like weekends or anywhere? Or you
I
just
have
do it as a hobby?
I have a double major in jazz studies and maritime studies.
Wow,
Yeah.
boy.
So how many people you've run into with that combination?
I don't think you're gonna find a double major at Babson like that, huh? What's the worst piece of advice you've ever received?
That I listened to?
Yeah.
I really can't think of that one. Next
Okay.
question, Pat.
Okay, bing. Okay. If you had the opportunity to have dinner with an iconic entrepreneur, someone who you've never met before, who might that be?
That's a good one. I would say to Cesar Ritz, actually.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. When you're escaping from the business world, where might we find you relaxing, just taking it easy, putting your feet up, whatever?
On Georgian Bay in Canada. Georgian Bay, Ontario. No question.
What life experience do you feel has had a profound impact on your success?
Stepping on the deck of that British sailing ship changed the course of where I was going. Yeah.
The whole trajectory.
And I would say the captain of that ship as well.
Yeah.
Who taught me how to navigate and look at butterflies. So,
look at butterflies?
Yes, he was a real butterfly aficionado, and so whenever we were anchored, he would always go ashore. And anyway, it was just he was a very old school guy and a navigator. This was the oldest sailing ship in the world at the time. And
I think years ago when I was on cruise and we docked in Bermuda for 3 nights, it was great. I believe I went to a butterfly museum in Bermuda somewhere near Hampton. I'm not really sure. If we could rewind, or if you could rewind the Doug film, what might you have done differently in your career?
I don't think I could predict any different course. It's been, I mean, I could have never predicted this journey, but I don't think it, I think I'm taking the journey I was intended to take.
So looking back, all the dots have connected nicely, huh?
Well, there'll be plenty of entrepreneurs on this call, and they'll understand that it's had a lot of sharp corners,
Right.
but I'm quite sure I'm on the journey I'm supposed to be on. So
that's great. Last question: what nugget of wisdom would you want to share with an aspiring entrepreneur looking to grow their business who's on this call today?
If you believe in what you're doing, just keep on driving. Listen to anybody else.
Right. I tell people
well, I shouldn't say don't listen to anybody else. Stay true to always stay true to what it is you're doing, and reevaluate what it is you're doing, because times change, things change, and as long as you can still see a clear path ahead, just keep on driving.
I always tell Doug, people that, those who say it can't be done, I'm watching those getting it done. And then Jack Welch always said, if you don't change the game's going to change you. And Pete Pavakwa, who used to be the CEO of PGA of America, he's now the president of NBC Sports, says, if you're batting 1,000, you're losing because you're complacent. You can't be complacent. You can't just say, well, that's how we always did it, whatever. But no, I think it's great what you're doing. Really, I can't wait to book a cruise where we can all get out and, we feel safer at travel and everything else. But the experience that you're describing, I mean, I can see how anybody, after talking to your your frontline people as far as, what's it all about, whatever. I can't see how they're not salivating saying, I want to get in this cruise ship and experience it. So at this point in time, I'm Jerry. I want to go to the Q&A, and I'm on my chat button here. And
everybody's actually messaging me privately, so I'll just read the questions.
That's fine, Jerry.
Okay, so Doug, somebody's asking, how does Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection differentiate from potential existing operations like Silver Sea, Crystal Cruises, Dream?
We actually just sort of like we touched on a little bit with Larry. I mean, we actually just don't think about it too much. We're so focused on who Ritz-Carlton is and who Ritz-Carlton's customer is and who the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection's customer is that we're sort of telling our story through a hotel resort lens, and so I've said this before. We just happen to be in the cruise business as well.
Right.
Awesome. Okay, someone else wrote, I'm curious about legacy brands attracting a new market. Ritz as a brand dates back to the early 20th century. I'd be curious about who they see as their future brand ambassadors. What does the brand stand for now?
I think the brand still stands for anticipatory service, and the property is going to continue. The properties will continue to evolve, and they are evolving. If you go to a new Ritz-Carlton, you're going to see a very different look and feel of property than you'll see of something that is one of sort of the classics, if you will. But I think the basic tenets of great service, they don't really change. I mean, you have to anticipate, you have to be ready to deliver, ready to anticipate and deliver what your guest is going to want. And, that doesn't just change by generation, that changes by the day. I can tell you, when my wife and I travel, I don't want anybody to come in the room. And my wife wants everybody to come in the room because she wants everything, right? Which is fine. So we both, so the challenge for a Ritz-Carlton, ladies and gentlemen, is to figure out how to make sure I have my experience and she has her experience, right? So,
how you do that is you get separate rooms.
Well, yeah. So, that's truly the art of it, right? And then it's also, what do you do when you get it wrong? Because you do get it wrong. Things, whatever it is that happens. So, something happening ashore or something happened where, we all make mistakes. Everybody has a bad day. So it's what you do about that buys you customers for life.
It's so funny that you say that. We had Arthur Blank on campus last week, and he had a couple conversations with our college president Spinelli, and then also some of his CEOs from some of his family brand of businesses. And he said a lot of the same things you're saying. Like, it's really important. He told the story of when they first opened the Home Depot, and people would be walking out with product, and he would say, "Thank you so much for shopping here." But it was the people who didn't walk out with product. He said, "Why aren't you walking out with product? What did you experience here? What could we have done differently?" And I feel like you're saying a lot of those same things. So true to good brands, I guess.
Thank you.
One other question is, Doug, the luxury market in general growing or shrinking with more direct access to brands by consumers?
Oh, I think it's growing. I do think it's growing. When the International Luxury Summit in Cannes every December, and I've gone to each one of those for the last roughly decade, and it gets bigger and more diverse, and I think it's growing. I think it's on pause right now, but it's growing
with so many other things. Yep. Mm-hmm. Those were all the questions that I see in our chat. I don't know if anybody else have a question. You can feel free to put it privately to me or into the group chat for everybody. I'll give you another minute.
Hey, Doug, can you, while we're waiting, when you launch in March or April, what is the first itinerary? I believe our visit might be the Mediterranean, but can you share with us some of the stops that you're going to make along the way? Is it a 7-day or 10-day? The first sailing.
It's Lisbon to the Balearics, right. And I honestly forget whether it's a 7-day or a 10-day. And then we sort of work our way east into the Mediterranean, as far east as Greece.
Right.
We have a bunch in the Adriatic, Croatia, sort of Venice, Dubrovnik, and then work our way. And it's a combination of 7 and 10 day voyages. Our average voyage length is, I think, 8 days. And then after that, we work our way back to Lisbon, and then we have a Lisbon to Halifax via the Azores, which is fantastic. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's a really unique destination. For especially to be able to add to an Atlantic crossing, to be able to add something like that, it's sort of not quite in the middle, but and then it's the fall season in the Canada New England region, and then lots of Boston, Halifax, Boston, Montreal, and then absolutely, and then we then go to the Caribbean, and then that's.
No, it sounds awesome. I can't wait to watch your progress and, hear about the launch. And, I just want to wish you all the success. And since for how many years you've been doing it, it has to be a major high for you to have this idea and a vision and to share it with the Marriott and the other team that you mentioned, the designer in Sweden. And then one day see this whole idea come to fruition when you walk on that gangway, you walk up into the ship and say, it's all done. It got to be an amazing, proud moment to all of a sudden, christen it and see it sail. It got to be unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I hope they have standing by nearby. We've got a bit of a drive to go yet. Yeah. So.
Well, I don't have any more questions in the chat, so I just want to take this opportunity to thank you both so much for your time. I know, Doug, we're eating into your family time, especially, so thank you so much for that. I hope you get to enjoy your popcorn now.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody else for joining us today. And remember, if you have feedback or things that we can be doing for our President Society members, please feel free to shoot me an email. But thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Be well, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.